tabs for the Blue Yeti, any sort of boom arm, and the Logitech C920. Any sort of boom arm. Now this is a microphone with a loose bass. It's loose because the threads are stripped. Yay! Fucking great. Hi. Oh, I should probably mute that. Derp. All right. Erica, welcome to my panel. It seems like the rest of the con has the same philosophy as I do about Sunday. Don't. Just don't Sunday. No. Yeah, they are probably all stuck in the elevators until like 3. But, wish this like telescope so I could like get it right here. Since it doesn't, this will have to work. Too much real air in my lungs. It's fine. People can hear me. I'm hearable. Yes. I am the most stage-trained person you know who's never been on the stage. Which is good, because the kind of stages you work with, you wouldn't want me on. All right. But in standard philosophy of Twitch, fake it till you make it. Do it whether there's people there or not. And pretend that they are. So I'm going to. Huh? Hi. I see you. We'll have a better camera next year, I promise. Yeah. So, this is my panel about mostly how to stream tabletop games such as D&D, Pathfinder, Bessum, never stream Rollmaster. It's a pain in the ass just to play. Never stream that. Mostly because you'd also have to cast any combat tracker that you may have, or they would have to sit there and watch you do math. Bad. But as introduction, I am Lone Shi, the classy streamer streaming classic games, which is interesting because while my game playing has some viewership, it was really my D&D campaign, Realms and Incursions, that had the most. And the reason was because we really put in the effort to entertain the audience while having fun ourselves. Sorry, we're listening to music from the next room over, and so what makes this fun, this panel specifically, is basically, you know, the nice subtitle. We have our subtitle, How I Learned Tabletop Games and How I Learned to Love Streaming Them, also known as How I Learned to Be Matt Mercer. Because the most prolific D&D campaign on the internet today is Critical Role with Matt Mercer and a bunch of other nerdy voice actors sitting around playing Dungeons & Dragons. And it is fantastic. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Because between watching and Matt Mercer's How to DM, it will turn you into a beast when it comes to Dungeons & Dragons. So, one of the most important things that you need to consider when doing this is people want to see the players and the DM. So, seeing and hearing the players is absolutely tantamount. You have to do it because there's nothing else to view. It's Dungeons & Dragons. So, what I want to go through first is some of the hardware involved. It's just a short, quick tutorial. Setting up and dealing with that is just a matter of making sure people can see the players. You can technically do it with one camera. I found that it's best with at least two. The camera on the screen right now is the Logitech C920. It's a decently expensive one, but it is also one of the best cameras that you can get. It does full 1080p, so it'll be crisp, clear, and there'll be no fuzziness in the lighting done on your show. When I did my stream, the one thing we had a C920, and we had my laptop camera. This little one right here on the back of my laptop. It shot me because I sat across from everybody. If you want to sit next to each other, one C920 is just fine. If you're trying to do the DM sits across and faces the player, which I find to be the most productive for a comprehensive party, then you will want two cameras, and that will help cover that. The other thing that's really important is that everybody can be heard. So shy of lapel micing everybody at $300 a friggin' player, the other thing you can do is to use a high quality microphone. A good high quality microphone is high quality because it will pick up everything in a god-awful radius. So one of the best microphones that we use is the Black Yeti, now on screen. This is the microphone that me and just about every other streamer I know actually uses. It's a little pricey, but you don't need one of these for each player. One of these will actually fill a whole room. When I did it, we specifically set my players in an order such that the quietest ones were sitting next to it, the next loudest just out. Me being the DM, I project. I can literally take away the microphone and you're going to be able to hear me just fine. And the reason is I project well and I can get my voice to boom outward. Which doesn't help if the viewer is, 3,000 miles away. It does help, however, if you have a Blue Yeti, which can pick you up from 20 feet away. In my campaign, we had one of these. One and only one. It was the only microphone we had in the room. We set it about 9 feet from me, and it was dead clear. It is a fantastic microphone. If you want to stream D&D, I suggest starting with that. You can do everything else with a PS2 iToy. Cameras are easy to get cheap ones and do well. Microphones, you cannot do that. So unless you want all your players standing around with a cheap microphone doing this and talking into it like this, which is very, very boring because they can't get into character then, you're going to want an omnidirectional microphone like the Yeti. What it will do for you is open the room. It will bring all the sound of the room. The downside to that is it brings all the sound to the room. So when I drop the dice, you hear it. If I drop the dice on a hardwood table, you really hear it. What I actually had, I built a gaming table for myself. It was felt covered, it was really nice, it folded up, fantastic. You set it down, you can't hear the dice at all. On the contrary, you can get a $10 dice tray, does the same thing. So a dice tray helps. Anything that can soften the impact of that dice on that hard table will keep people from hearing loud clackering sounds as those dice hit the table. Because a lot of dice roll. And if, a sorcerer's casting something and they're throwing 30 fucking dice on the table, that's loud. And it hurts if you're wearing headphones. Why are you crying? No cry. I completely forgot to turn my Discord off, so I'm getting notifications. Hold on. Quit. I'm really glad I missed that video, by the way. I don't need to go into this one with the feels. So, other things to consider is when you're shooting people, use a really high caliber, when you're aiming a camera at people, it's best to actually get a slight downward tilt on it or be able to position the mic however you want. One of the best ways to do that is with a nice boom stand. This one right here is, in fact, I believe, yes, that is the exact one I have. It is a $10 friggin' boom stand. They're cheap. Get one. Use it. It's great. You're fired. So, boom stands let you do a lot of different things. Me, I use mine for my camera. Because, of course, I can set the microphone on the table way over there, and if it's padded with the dice, you don't hear dick. It's great, but you hear everyone else clearly. You also happen to hear my $600 air filter hanging on the wall because I smoke too many cigars. Yeah, well, you have a rabbit air. Yep. Hey, I'm a classy streamer streaming classic games, which is why I drink scotch no matter what I'm doing. I'm also full of self-loathing and hatred, which is why I do D&D so well. But what these do is you can put cameras on them, so you can move that camera to exactly where you want it and point it exactly how you want it. I know everyone's had that trouble of setting a camera on a table and it going because the cord is pointing it around. Not cool. These keep that from happening. As the picture she's showing points out, you can also hang your microphone from it. So if you are having vibration issues on the table, you can hang your microphone from it. So for $24, you now have a camera that you can point anywhere you want and a microphone that no longer has table vibration issues. It's fantastic. A little bit more on best case scenario. Once again, you could lapel mic all of your players. It works fantastically. There's no crosstalk. You never have any problems with table vibration. It's also about $200 a player minimum. Lapel mics are not cheap, especially since you have to have the wireless receiver to go with them, which is another $200. So let's see, to mic your players, you're talking about $1,000 just for mics. Also, best case scenario, you put a camera on all of your players. How many players do you have? Okay, that's $100 a player. Not cheap, but best case scenario, because now you can do anything you want with it. Now, the tools I use are OBS, which has a window capture mode. Most of the streaming software has one of these. Why this is important is because there are other tools for streaming D&D. A lot of companies use them. These tools are very useful, unless you want to 3D print all of your maps. I'm pretty sure that has nothing to do with my panel. Yeah, but I use OBS and a few other programs like that. They're handy. They're streaming, just standard streaming software. But unless you're Matt Mercer and can afford to 3D print all of your equipment, I can't, then you're going to want to be able to display maps. Because while your players might enjoy doing everything in their head, your viewers don't want to have to think that hard. So there's a company out there called Roll20 who actually has a mapping software. You can put maps on the table, put icons on them, and move them around for combat. Because it's much easier for a viewer and even your players to look at the map, see where everything's at, and plan strategy around that. It's basically the same thing as miniatures, except it's on the web. Your players can now literally take control of their characters right here on their phone. The phone version actually is a paid version, so you have to pay, I think, $9 a month. But you can connect it to tablets and phones, so they can move their character and only their character. It can display hit points and other notes for the DM. It's a very useful tool for keeping track of that stuff. It also is incredibly handy if you happen to have somebody remoting in with Skype. I had a couple games like that. The technicalities for that are mostly how you position the mic. Pardon me. No, coffee. A lot of that is related to positioning the mic, because your capture software is probably going to just capture that input directly. So you want to display it out to the players so they can communicate with that person. Doing that means you now have a sound coming from speakers and hitting that microphone. So you need to be able to position that microphone in a way and set the volume levels in a way that they don't interact. So that's actually very important. It takes a lot of practice. It's more trial and error. It's based on your room, what microphone you're using, how the sound's coming out, all of that. But in my case, I had 2 screens, so I just had it output to the Skype was on a screen over here where my players could see it. Was really well. Beyond that, let's see. I think that's everything as far as equipment and logistics. When you're streaming tabletop, however, the players are by far the most important. The DM, the players, and the story. You want a story that's immersive. It's going to pull people in. Everybody wants those for their D&D campaign, so we're not going to go over too much on how to make an immersive story. That's you. That's what you're playing. You can make an immersive story out of a campaign book. It's not hard because they're immersive on their own. Creating your own is just a matter of following what you want to do and keeping that. Now, where it really comes in to really pull people in is you have to have the right type of players. You have to have players who can be really serious and really take in the drama of that moment that you're building and easily transmit back into the traveling troupe and all of their shenanigans. When we streamed our Realms and Incursions campaign, we had a perfect group for that. They were really serious at times and really goofy at others. It's thanks to them that hashtag #shitnanigans popped up because we had a gnome and he liked to shit in things. And it was funny. So it really does, but this is also the same group who literally stood there slack-jawed at certain events. You could see like the fear on their face and when things happen. Dragons descended, a swarm of dragons descended from the sky and landed in front of them. And these players are just sitting there like, I think we should leave. Perfect. They got into their characters. They knew how their characters were going to react. But, the next moment, they're, going off on another tangent of shenanigans once that drama has subsided. If you have players that are cracking jokes during the tense moment, this is not a campaign you want to stream. It's that simple. It breaks the immersion. It breaks the immersion for the players, and it breaks it for the people watching your stream. It's great to have fun, but if you're not immersive, if you're not telling that story, if you're not getting the people behind the characters, they're not going to care. They're going to leave. Further, when you, as a DM, if you don't know the rules, if you have to stop and look up a rule every 20 minutes, it's going to break the immersion. People aren't going to enjoy it. So to stream something, you better know that system very well. You should know it well enough that if you don't know the letter of the rules, you can make educated guesses about how it should go or how you want it to go. Even better, you don't have to follow the letter of the rules. Tell your viewers that you're not following the letter of the rules. Otherwise, you're going to get the constant stream of, that's not what that rule is. No, you're doing it wrong. Freaking internet trolls. So, you want to let people know that you're house ruling things, but feel free to just kind of go with it loosely. Have fun with it. That's what it's about. I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. You could never say it enough. If you're not having fun, your viewers aren't having fun. So it's very important that you have fun, but you better know what you're doing. As a DM, it is your job to know the rules and handle them. A lot of people jump into DMing way too early before they really know the rules because they have a great story idea. It's like, that's great. Go learn the rules. When you know the system, you can do the story. Okay? If you don't know the system that people want to play, find new people. Take the system that you want to play and make the game there. Our DH for the fan art theater, Nachan ran a Besom game where he modified the entire combat system because he wanted to do Captain Harlock. And that was awesome. It was a great campaign. It was a massive shenanigan just shitstorm. But it was fun, and his modifications didn't hurt the system at all. So if you can modify it and it works, that's fine. Besom is one where it's easy to modify. There's not a lot of rules. If you tried to modify 3.5, you're going to break something. I promise. Every time. I know. I've done it. I'm in fact an expert at breaking shit in 3.5. 3.5 is not broken. 3.5 says here's a bunch of shit you can do. If your DM lets you do all of it, he's a moron. 3.5 is built on the premise that these books are just guidelines for running a campaign. And it is up to the DM what he wants to include. If a DM says everything, feel free to unzip and lay your Johnson on the table. Because he deserves it. And it's going to hurt. I've run with DMs who flat out won't let me play certain classes. Because I'm very good at building those classes. I'm very good at building those classes. And they're like, you're a dick. Stop min-maxing. I'm like, I'm not min-maxing. If I was min-maxing, I'd take 12 classes. I didn't. I took 1. But I also know the rules very well. I know how to make things work. Don't be afraid to do stuff that's outside the realm of the campaign. Yep, as a DM, you can build this world however you want. You can build the structure of your game however you want. If you don't want them to have to roll survival to find a place to rest every night, don't make them. It's boring to roll that much. You want to move on. You want to get that story. Nobody wants to watch that shit. But in the end, as a DM, it is your job to know these rules. So any game you're going to stream, you should know the rules of the system that you're going to use. Because no one wants to watch you look them up. That is boring. If I wanted to watch people look stuff up, I would go to the library. It's really that simple. Now, as a DM, you also have other perks. Getting your players into a campaign is more than just having players that are interested in their character. Getting players into a campaign is about building a world. If you want people watching to have a good time, draw your players in. If you draw the players in, you'll draw in the viewers. It happens every time. I ran a campaign. The Realms and Incursions campaign was actually one of the best campaigns I've ever run because I got to bring in things that I love from across genres. The Realms and Incursion campaign was basically the linchpins between the universes had been shattered and lost, and other worlds were bleeding together. So we had the standard Forgotten Realms D&D 3.5 area of Neverwinter and Winter's Grasp areas were blending with other universes. So I, in my joyousness, got to bring in the Dragon Riders of Pern and the Temple of Anubis. It was literally me going, I'm going to dump all my fandoms into one game. And it worked. It was in great sessions. We had great times. But what really sold it was the ability to describe what you're seeing. What are they seeing? Okay, you've got a bunch of players who are walking through this box canyon, and a bunch of dragons appear over them, all more massive than anything you've ever seen. More massive, the two leading, a bright golden color and a deep bronze color, soaring through the sky, are larger than any dragon you've ever seen on the face of the earth. Behind them is a row of browns. That's right, chromatics following metallics. And you just build this picture of these dragons soaring down and landing in front of the party with people riding them. There are people on the back of chromatic dragons. And it's those pauses. Let the players let that soak in and go, hold on a second. Chromatics are all evil. The fuck? Why are there people riding dragons? Better yet, why are there people riding dragons bigger than ancient worms? And you let that pull in. And when that pulls in, then you have the guy get off the back of one of the dragons, walk up and go, what the hell are you doing here? Now they have to react. And they're in character, because that's what they're doing. They're pulled into that character, into that world, and they really want to do that. But what makes that even better is the people watching are like, oh shit, what's going to happen? It creates that world. It creates that story. And that's what's going to pull people in. And don't be afraid to just have to break the entire scene, because sometimes that happens. I wear contacts. The best scene break we ever had was when they went to an unknown temple and they traveled through, and I described the colossal monuments on either side with jackals hanging over them. And they finally made their way in, and this jackal had this creature, huge, 7 foot tall, muscle bound, with a gold and silver belt and a multicolored like skirt type thing flowing down to his knees, with the head of a jackal with glowing red eyes, shows up. Yes, that's right. They met Anubis. It was great. When they began talking to him, but as a DM, you can get into these NPCs as well, and that's what makes it really great. Because if you can get into these NPCs and get into their heads, you can pull people in. So they're trying to talk to Anubis, and Anubis is literally just standing there. I've been waiting for you. Time is of the essence, and the worlds are merging. I am not supposed to be here. Those dragons aren't supposed to be here. And I did this, and I literally had a full conversation for like 5-10 minutes before one of my players goes, you know what scares me? He hasn't blinked yet. And I went, oh shit, I haven't. You got so into the character who just stared deadpan because he's the god of death, right? It's supposed to unnerve you. And the ability to just look them dead in the eye and not blink and tell them what needs to be done. It's fucking unnerving as hell. And it pulls people in. But don't be afraid to shatter it, because just be animated. Have fun with it. You're a character. They took a book about the shattering of the dimensions to a sorceress in a tower. And it was literally 20 minutes of me being a scared librarian. And it was great. Literally, when I would point, I was shaking. Get into the characters. Pull them in. Characters build a world. If you build characters that people are going to enjoy, people are going to want to see, want to know what happens, that's why people are going to watch your stream again. The players and the DM will sell that game no matter what your technology. I started my game, when I started mine, I was using a PS2 iToy and my laptop screen. I had the iToy set up on top of a bunch of boxes sort of pointed at my players. Because I didn't have a good camera. All I had was the Yeti. That was it. So that's what we did. We ran with that. I eventually got better cameras and a new boom stand, and it got better production. That's what will sell your campaign. If you have the right type of players who want to get into their characters, who care what happens to this character, and the characters aren't like one note, kill it all. It's not a murder hobo campaign, man. You need a campaign that has a solid story. That's why Critical Role is so going so well, and that's what'll make your stream go well as well. If you have good characters, good players and a story that can draw people in, and as a DM, you can draw them into the conflict. When a dragon appears, describe it. The wings beating. You can hear the wind whistling with each stroke of the wings. The toothy maw opening, gaping with saliva and acid dripping from their black teeth. Pull them in. Get that detail in there. And your viewers, your players, they're going to see it. And the viewers are going to see it on your player's face that they realize what's about to happen. And the characters in the game is all going to come together in such a way that everybody's just going to be sitting there going, what's going to happen? And that's what you want. In a good D&D campaign, nobody starts looking at the clock wondering if it's going to be over soon. Everyone's sitting there going, what's going to happen? Holy shit, what's happening next? How are you going to solve this? How are you going to solve that? And they want to know. And that's what's going to sell that campaign. Anyone can make a stream. Anyone can stream D&D. In fact, you can go on Twitch right now and find dozens of them. Almost all of them are shit. I've watched several of them, and I cannot tell you how many of them I've watched look up rules, not get into character, not engage with their audience. It's important. This right here is your most powerful tool. Have your players on these. The Twitch app has a chat-only mode. Use it. Get your players on the chat. If you can output the sound effects that are coming through from your chat through speakers without them, sickling through the microphone, do that. So your players can hear those effects. Get people involved. That's going to pull people in, and that's going to make them want to stay longer, even during the lulls in the campaign, because every campaign has a little bit of lull. If you have good players, those lulls are highly entertaining. Like a massively failed animal check. That results in your barbarian being kicked in the face repeatedly. It's hilarious. Or, hey, I need to get some horsehair. Great, how do you do it? I do this. Okay, roll me an intelligence check to make sure you know how to do it. You got a 1? You tried to pull it from his tail and he kicked you in the teeth. Do that. Have fun with it. It doesn't have to be letter of the law. Make the characters the characters. One way to do that is to step outside your comfort zone. I play as a DM, I did a lot of females. And I didn't talk like this when I did it. Voices help sell a character. It really helps when, as a DM, you're doing a lot of different characters. If you have 4 characters in a scene, and one of them talks like this, and then another talks like this, it's very easy to switch between this and actually have them get in an argument because you're a brute and nobody wants to listen to you. You never want to attack head on. Lassie, you always want to attack head on. It's the only way to do it. You know I'm 2 different characters there because you can actually hear the voice switch. That doesn't mean you need to be a voice actor to do it, but give them something subtle, something different. A slight difference in accent. Even if your accents are terrible, it won't matter as long as they're slightly different. Changing tonality and accent is really easy. Everyone has a bad accent up their sleeve. Use them. Some of us are better at them than others, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be good. Welcome to Quickie-Mart. What can I buy for you? So do we have the baby boys? Come back next week. And that's important. That leads literally to another point. We joke about the Quickie-Mart concept, but make them role play. Make them do it. When they say, hey, I go to the store and I buy this +3 magic sword. I'm like, so you go to the store? Yes. Okay, well, you walk in the store. It's a small shack on the edge of town. This town being the kind of small the way it is, it's not really a fortified military town. There's not a lot of strong weapon smiths here. So you enter the town. It's called the Sword and Board. And you enter, and behind the counter is this small half-elven woman. She looks, welcome. How can I help you today? You're like, I would like to enhance this sword to be a +2 sword of badassosity. She's like, I'm sorry, that's far outside our purview. Fuck with them. It's fun. When your characters are sitting in a small town and they go, I go to the shop and I want to upgrade my armor to +5. I'm like, you're in a small town. There is no one here who has that capability. Keep it realism. Keep that world built the way it is. If you're in a small farming town, what are the chances that the blacksmith there knows how to make masterwork weaponry? None. Sucks to be you. What are the chances that you can buy 5,000 arrows so that you don't have to worry about running out? None. That's the kind of stuff. People are always like, well, okay, I'm going to go buy some healing potions. Where do you go? I go to the potion shop, the apothecary. So you go to Antoine's apothecary, and he's like, yes, what can I do for you? Healing potion? We don't have that. But take this, yeah, make hair shiny. Characters will sell a world. And if you can sell that world to your players, it will be easily sold to your viewers. Building that will bring people in. Doing that kind of thing creates a realism in the world that will pull viewers into that world. It pulls your players into that world so they can feel it, they see it. They know, I'm in a small town. It takes about one time for your players to look up and go, hey, I know this is a small town, but do they happen to have... They stop assuming towns have these things. So now their goal is they go out, they make money, and now we got to go back to this big town that we were there at like a week and a half ago so that we could buy good stuff. And that's what happens. And so now they're in a real world because that's what you want. You want that world to feel real. So like the dragons or Anubis, all of it is just, it pulls in and people want that. That's what will sell a good D&D stream. If you can pull people into your world, that D&D stream will do well. Because everyone I know who likes watching like Critical Role and enjoys watching Matt Mercer and friends tell a story, the reason they enjoy it is not because Matt Mercer's a voice actor, or Marisha Ray's there, or they're fans of Ashley Johnson, who isn't. It's because the story they tell and the characters they build are sold to them. The characters are real. When one of the characters is about to die, or dies even, you're just like, what are you going to do? You gotta fix it. Somebody fix it. You're as enamored with you've got to get this fixed. This cannot stay, as they are. So if that's how you got to do it. You've got to build a world, build characters that people care about. When a character gets wrecked, you want your audience to be like, no, oh my God. You want that. And it's not going to happen the first session. It's probably not going to happen in the first 5. But by about the 6th or 7th, people are going to start enjoying these characters. They're going to feel the world around them. And I can't tell you how many times I've watched episodes of Critical Role and called my brother up and been like, dude, what are they going to do? Iman's been taken over by dragons. You know, and we've talked about the world and mentioned other cities and everything. We knew the map because we'd been paying attention and we watched the show. And it had been built so thoroughly that you were just standing there like, what are we going to do? And it's really, that is important. The world and the characters. If you can sell them, people will keep coming back. Trust me on this. I've had people, I mentioned before, they took a book to a sorcerer's tower. And I got to play the scared librarian. She was a young half-elf lady of 19. And I had somebody come running back into my chat, because they heard me from the other room and was curious who had showed up on the channel. So changing up voices will give you an immersion. If all of your NPCs talk like this, no one cares. Now, if that scared librarian is suddenly like, how do you have that book? That book should not be here. That shouldn't happen. Get that out. It's terrifying. Suddenly, people really feel for that girl. She's petrified. And you sound petrified. So suddenly, even everybody watching is like, oh, what is this book? She's terrified. And streaming doesn't have to be for extremely advanced role players. The more you can get into a character, the better it's going to go. And the reason for that is for that exact reason. I wasn't petrified for a minute. When they tried to calm her down, she calmed down a little bit, but she was still shaking and still saying they had to get rid of that book. There was no stopping that. She was afraid of it. And that's the kind of thing that's going to sell it. If you can really get into a character. As a DM, it's unfortunate, but your job is to be able to get into all the characters. It's harder. But if your players can get into just their characters, if you can get players who get really into their characters, like Grog Strongjaw. I have love of two things in the world. Go, women, and ale. Wait. You can get into that character. If you can get 4 people together who are playing the game and are really into their characters, the fact that you can't get completely immersed in all of your characters isn't going to hurt. Not going to hurt at all. But you want to get a little bit of immersion. You want to get into their mind and go, okay, what is their thought processes? I don't want to do a full DM, like DM, this is how to DM thing. Matt Mercer's done that. And as much as I hate to admit it, he's better than me. But it's, you want to know who this person is. What is their reactions going to be to this? A general personality concept. What kind of person are they? In my case, the librarian was meek and underappreciated. She literally was stacking books. That was it. She wasn't anybody important in the sorcerer's library. She was just kind of an out-of-the-way sorceress. So playing her as someone who just suddenly got thrown into the deep end of the pool with a brick around her ankles worked. It just worked for her. It's easy. If you know those, you can do that. And it's harder sometimes as a DM. I suffer from a luxury of massive creativity. So I don't write anything down and I don't plan anything. The only time that ever bites me in the ass is when my players go through like 20 different shops and ask all of the shopkeepers their names. Like, you're bastards. I cussed my brother out one day for that, actually. On stream. I'm like, you son of a bitch. Stop asking everyone their names. You know how hard it is to come up with names on the fly. Which is why I had like Sherry, Sharon, Shirley. I had a lot of names that sounded alike because I just couldn't think of anymore. Yes, actually. It was nothing for them to look up and go, what was the shopkeep's name back in that town? Sherry. Dick. But yes, unfortunately, when you make the names, you might want to write them down and who they are, because it's important. Remember, players are assholes. They will not only derail every campaign idea you have, but will somehow manage to make every single completely unimportant NPC something spectacular in their story. Be prepared. I've seen that. I've done that. That's funny. DM's like, why is she coming along? I don't know, but by the time I'm done, she'll have class levels. He's like, I hate you. Actually, early in the campaign, we had something similar. My players rolled really well. We were in the castle. I actually started my Realms and Incursions with the castle dungeon and the starter set of 5th edition. I used that map. Used a very similar concept of stuff is in there. There's a lot of goblins. Go. And so they fought their way through it. When they got to one room and did stealth checks to go to both sides of the room and rolled really well. There was no way the guys in there would have known. They ran in and instantly slaughtered 3 of the 4 goblins in like a half a round. The last one, they cornered. They did not kill the last one. And you're like, wait, why are you not killing them? Kill it, it's a goblin. And so they started talking to it, which means all of those things I mentioned you want for your NPCs, had to do it off the top of my head. And your players will do that to you. Be ready. Have a few blank persona just sitting aside. It's gonna be important, I promise. Because no one wants to watch a stream where the players do that and you're like, huh? What? I don't know. It's not entertainment. Now, if they cornered said goblin and go, you are gonna run away. Intimidate check. And they roll decently, and you look at them like, Jacko run, Jacko run, Jacko run. And Jacko runs away. And then they go off on adventures, and about a week later they come back to the castle, and Jacko's working guard duty. Yes, Jacko, not Jacko, Jacko guard. He became an integral part to their group. He got class levels. He was a CR 1/3 goblin that they were supposed to kill. This is how DMs can go bald. This is why we have gray hair. But this is also just works to help build that immersion. Why was Jacko back? He had nowhere else to go. His whole tribe was dead. I know. The party killed everybody else. Except that one goblin. What the fuck, guys? That is the nature of D&D campaigns. But it's also what pulls people in. They're like, cool, they let one go. That's kind of interesting. I can't wait to see how that comes back to bite them. And don't ever think that it won't. If you're running a campaign, let stuff like that come back to bite them. I had 2 options. Jacko would come back because he had nowhere else to go, in hopes of at least staying there the night. Or Jacko would bring back an army of orcs and goblins. I went with the funny one. He came back, ran into the remnant of the party that was left, because she was an NPC and I was tired of running her. And so while she was building the castle, he comes back and joins her. And starts helping rebuild the castle. Yes, I gave my players a castle. It's fun. Give them a base of operations, by the way. If you give them a base of operations, you create a permanency to the game. The roaming band of merry good duels is always great, but it's really great when they have a place to come back home, take off their armor, and be like, see, 3 dragons, 12 ogres, that one demon from the abyss. And take stock of the just shit they just had to go through. Also, when you have a castle, you now have expenses, which means you can give players thousands of dollars, thousands of gold more than they need, because now they have a staff to pay. And so they'll loot something and get 50,000 gold, and viewers and players will be like, yeah, 50,000, hell yeah, we're only level 7. Like, yeah, your monthly fees for all of your guards and servants are 15,000. Wait, after that means we only get like 4K a piece. Yeah, no. Go pay your guards. Because God help them if they don't. Just think about it. What would a real guard do if you stopped paying them? They'd rob the place blind and then leave. And that's what should happen in your campaign. Punish your players for doing stupid things, but reward them for doing good things. Keep the world real. It's your job to balance real with entertaining. And if you can do that well, you'll create that immersive experience that people are looking for in campaigns. And if that happens, your viewership's going to go up. People are going to have fun. If they have fun, they're going to come back. Now, when I did my game, there weren't a lot of people in the chat interacting. But there are always quite a few people in the chat. And the reason was they were turning it on to listen in the background, because the campaign was entertaining, and that's what they wanted to hear. They wanted to have that fun. And if you can get a party that routinely does the same kind of stupid shit, the next thing you know, your chat starts chanting #shitnanigans. Because the gnome likes to pull the horse over and have it poop on the barbarian's head. Wasn't the only time he did that. This kind of stuff was common in my game during the downtimes. There was still the drama. You got to have that balance. Recent episode of Critical Role, one of the characters turned into an elephant in the house, and seeing said large gray monstrosity in his house, the barbarian attacked. Druid transformation. Hit points don't carry over. So when the elephant ran out of hit points, she changed back, and he was like, oh, did you see that thing? He had a 6 intelligence. He was dumb. But that's the kind of stuff. You can have a lot of fun without losing the drama, as long as people aren't breaking that drama by being stupid. So it's having those right type of people to do that. As a DM, you can do that. You can create a world. You can create something fantastic. But if your players are going to crack jokes during every serious scene, it's probably not going to work on a stream. Because you're going to break that immersion, and people are going to laugh, and they're going to have fun for the first couple sessions, but they're not going to be involved. They're not going to care. If you want people to keep coming back, make them care. If they care what happens to that character, even if it's eating up time out of their life, they or start thinking they should better use somewhere else, they're still going to watch. It's why shows like Supernatural keep getting seasons, even though they've already defeated the Sister of God. Yeah. People still go back because people still care about Sam and Dean Winchester. That's the kind of thing you need. You can be goofy, but you've got to pull people in. And as a DM, it's easy for you to pull people into the world, but you got to have the players who can pull people to their characters. So characters should be unique. They shouldn't be the cookie cutter, I am the hero. unless they actually stand up and go, I am, in fact, the leading man. Balthier, hit it. After all, I'm the leading man. So that's the kind of stuff that you really need out of those kind of characters. Streaming it is easy. Like I mentioned before, I did it with a Yeti and a PS2 iToy. You can stream with anything. It's really that easy. But I did go back and get better cameras. The Logitech C920 was the camera that I used. We had them up on the screen a little bit ago. Sorry, I've got sinus is draining right now. Especially when you're trying to talk. That was the microphone I used. It's expensive, but it works. I'm going to revisit this because a lot of you weren't here for the previous one. But the Blue Yeti, I used that specifically during my stream. It's set 9 feet away from me. And I was dead clear. Mind you, as you can tell, I can project really well. So hitting 9 feet on a microphone, not exactly hard for me. But I had players who spoke a lot softer. So we organized the players, obviously, the softer speakers right there next to it. Others a little farther out, and me across the room. Because I wanted to do the face version. What that did is I actually used my laptop camera. And I set the C920 for my players. I put it on a boom stand and just pointed it at my players. Got a slightly downward angle, you know, all those fancy camera tricks they teach you in them higher learning things. But doing that, now I've got this nice panorama of my players that I can use software and put it on the bottom of Roll20 so they can see it and create that immersion. But as long as people can hear you and see you, and you can draw people, as long as people can hear you and see you, the most important thing are the players. Build that world, pull people in, create immersive experience, and your stream will succeed. Only one final little note on that is your stream will be empty the first time you do it. In fact, your stream will be empty the first 10 times you do it. Get used to that. It's a long road out of that hole. But you will get out of it. If you can do those, eventually you're going to get people who are going to be like, hey, this is entertaining, I'll follow that. Hey, this is entertaining, I'll follow. And those follow numbers start going up. They go up slowly. It's literally, you know, it's parabolic, man. The more you have, the faster they build. Because more people are spreading the word. It always works. Network. Go to other places doing D&D streams. Particularly find ones that are doing it right. Once again, I cannot tell you how many times I've gone to D&D streams where they were doing a campaign book and having to do this every 10 minutes. Very boring. When I have to sit there and watch the DM look up rules every 5 minutes, I'm done. No. This ends at 2, right? Okay, so I have officially gone over my time limit. Do anybody have any questions before I go? Okay. I just wanted to make sure I addressed anything that you may or may not have heard in the first half. But thank you all for coming, and good luck streaming your own tabletop game.